That summer was supposed to be perfect. It was the summer after high school, the first time in my life I felt like everything was wide open. No rules, no classes, no responsibilities, just freedom. Where I'm from in Montana, kids have this little tradition, at least at my school. After graduation, you go out to the mesas, climb something steep, and sit at the top with your friends to celebrate. It's stupid and reckless, but when you're 18, it feels like the most important thing you'll ever do. That day, it was me, Samantha, Dylan, and Chris. 4 of us who had been inseparable since middle school. Sam had the SUV. She loved that thing like it was a child. The rest of us made fun of her obsession, but honestly, it was the only car we trusted to make it out that far. We hit the road blasting music, shouting over the wind, feeling untouchable. When we stopped at Bitterroot Overlook, it was like stepping into another world. Endless cliffs, sharp drops, colors that didn't look real. We took pictures, laughed, soaked it in. At that moment I thought, this is it. This is the start of everything. But that feeling didn't last. Driving back along Highway 212, we spotted a cluster of rock formations just off the road. They looked perfect for climbing. Sam swung the SUV into a gravel lot, and we geared up. The climb wasn't hard, just long enough to get our blood pumping. By the time we reached the top, the sun was low, spilling gold across the wilderness. We sat there, cracked open our beers, and stared out at the world like kings. And then I saw it, a red pickup. It came tearing down the highway, too fast, too reckless. I watched it roar past the lot where Sam's SUV was parked, then slam on the brakes. Tires screamed, gravel flew. My friends turned to look just in time to see it start rolling backward, right toward the SUV. At first, none of us spoke. We just watched as the driver climbed out. A tall man, broad shoulders, moving slow, deliberate. He circled the SUV once, then again. He pressed his face to the windows, yanked at the handles. "What the hell's he doing?" Dylan muttered. Chris leaned forward, tense. "Looks like he's trying to break in." Dylan cupped his hands and shouted, "Hey!" The man startled, spun, scanned the cliffs until he found us. Then he waved. Just a cheerful little wave, like a neighbor seeing you across the fence. For a moment, we all laughed nervously. But then he turned right back to the SUV, tugging harder, peering closer. Something about the way he ignored us made my stomach twist. Chris shouted again, louder this time, "We're armed." Silence. The man froze. Slowly, he looked up. His voice carried across the empty air, calm but sharp. "Me too, kiddo." And he raised his arm. Something metallic flashed in the sun. A gun. My entire body went cold. Then he rammed his shoulder into the SUV's window. Once, twice. Each thud echoed through the rocks like a drumbeat. Sam screamed, her voice cracking, as we scrambled down the plateau. My hands burned against the stone. My legs shook, but I didn't stop. Then, shattering glass. By the time we hit the ground, he had already broken in. We sprinted toward him. Gravel crunched beneath our shoes, and the man spun around. Gun raised. "Stop." We did. Our feet froze mid-stride. Hands shot up on instinct. I could hear my heartbeat in my ears, so loud I thought it would burst. Phones. Wallets. Now his voice was steady. Too steady. We obeyed, tossed everything onto the ground. My phone, my wallet, Dylan's, Chris's, Sam's. He kept the gun trained on us as he crouched, pocketing each item one by one. That's when I saw his face clearly, for the first time. Older, weathered, a beard patchy and scraggly. His eyes. I'll never forget his eyes. Not angry, not excited, just empty. Like he'd done this before, like he'd do it again. When he finished, he pulled out a knife. He crouched at Sam's SUV, stabbed into the tire, and twisted until air hissed out in a slow, mocking sound. Then he stood, tucked the knife away, and walked back to his truck. No plates, nothing to identify him. He climbed in, started the engine, and drove off like it was just another day. For a long time, none of us moved. We stood there, trembling, staring down the highway long after the truck had vanished. When Sam finally snapped out of it, she was shaking with rage. Her voice cracked as she cursed under her breath. Chris and I fumbled with the spare tire, our hands clumsy, terrified, every crunch of gravel making us flinch, convinced he'd come back. He didn't, but the fear didn't fade. Not even after we were back on the road. Not even after we called the police from Sam's house and gave them every detail we could remember. They never found him. To this day, I think about that man, about how close we were to dying on that plateau, about how he looked at us, calm, steady, like he was in control the whole time. And I wonder, if we hadn't yelled, if we hadn't run, if he'd decided robbing us wasn't enough. The cops told us we were lucky. But when I close my eyes, I don't feel lucky. I feel like prey that was spared just this once. And the worst part? Somewhere out there, that man is still driving, still waiting for the next group of kids who think the wilderness is theirs. Did this story creep you out? Drop a like and join us by subscribing for more real horror.